one-day cricket from Headingley at 11:55. First up, in light of today's events in London, we've a change to listings now. A Channel 4 News special, Attack on London, presented by Jon Snow.
Police tonight working by arc lights at the scene of one of the 4 bomb blasts that killed 38 and injured 700. More than 100 people injured in the bombings are still in hospital tonight, some 40 of them still described as critical or serious. Good evening. At the end of the most violent day of human loss in London since the end of the Second World War. Today's 4 bombs, 3 on the Underground, 1 on a double-decker bus, succeeded in bringing the capital to a halt. Tonight, forensic scientists are at all 4 scenes, and detectives are already assessing suspects. Tonight, we report the latest, and we reflect on what has happened and where it takes us. We report the scale of the attack. The hundreds stranded in deep tunnels on the Piccadilly line below King's Cross led to safety. The tributes at the British Embassy in Washington tonight, where Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice wrote, "They will not have died in vain." And Tony Blair's return to Gleneagles and the embattled and altered G8 summit, the likely political target of today's devastation, and what he has said.
When they try to intimidate us, we will not be intimidated. When they seek to change our country or our way of life by these methods, we will not be changed.
38 people confirmed dead, 700 injured, many critically or seriously. The deadliest ever peacetime attack on London. Tonight, the heart of the capital is deserted. West End shows have been cancelled. Elsewhere, cars have been abandoned by commuters forced to walk home after routes out became gridlocked. 4 bombs, 3 on the tube system, 1 on a bus, exploded at the very height of the morning rush hour. Tony Blair returned to London from the G8 summit to take charge, declaring that the British people would not be cowed. Britain will not change its way of life, he said. He is now back at Gleneagles tonight, insisting the bombings will not derail the summit. The 4 blasts happened within minutes of each other. The first came at 8:51 a.m. on a tube train running into Liverpool Street Station in the city. At least 7 people died. 5 minutes after that, a second explosion went off on a tube on the Piccadilly line between King's Cross and Russell Square. 21 people died there. At 9:17, a bomb exploded on a Circle Line train just outside Edgware Road Station. 2 other trains nearby were caught up in the blast, and at least 7 people were killed. And then at 9:47, a bomb went off on the top floor of a double-decker bus at Tavistock Square, near the British Museum in the heart of London. 2 deaths here have been confirmed so far. That number is expected to rise. Our chief correspondent, Alex Thompson, has been following the day's traumatic events. His report does contain distressing scenes.
Deep underground, a routine commute to the city blown horrifyingly to a standstill. One passenger's video of the evacuation which happened across London, far below the streets.
Can we dress back, please, unless you want to speak to police?
1 minute minding your own business, bang, and we thought we were on fire. The smell, the smoke, you couldn't breathe, you couldn't see anything. It was just horrible. I just want to get home.
Britain's security services have long said it's not a matter of if, but when. When turned out to be the morning rush hour of Thursday, July the 7th. Liverpool Street Station. Morning commuters are used to security alerts, but this is unusually urgent. Aldgate Station, a quarter of a mile east of Liverpool Street, and this is clearly no security alert, no false alarm. Ambulance convoys London buses commandeered to ferry out the walking wounded from the underground tunnels and survivors.
An almighty bang, things went dark there for a second and so much smoke and people panicking, and then people started to calm down. People wanted to get to the back of the train away from the danger area, but there was nowhere for them to go. And then they took us off the train and made us walk all the way back past it all. Dead bodies on the tracks, train blown open.
There was one body under some of the metal sheeting that wasn't moving. He's had his trousers blown off. There's a couple of others who were had their clothes stripped from them as well, but just about moving on the track.
They don't yet know it, but it is a bomb. Detonated 100 yards out of Liverpool Street Station at 8:51 this morning, and it killed at least 7 people. 10 are critically injured. Nobody mentions power surges anymore. London and the world are recognising that this is the day the if became the when.
I think we all know what they're trying to do. They're trying to use the slaughter of innocent people to cow us, to frighten us out of doing the things that we want to do, of trying to stop us going about our business as normal as we're entitled to do. And they should not and they must not succeed.
At King's Cross, they stream from the underground, this labyrinth no stranger to major emergencies, and they emerge talking of the bang, the flash, the dense sooty smoke.
People didn't know what the hell had happened. There was a pregnant woman on the tube, and that was it. We've not really been told what happened.
Eventually everyone starts collecting themselves and trying to stay low and cover their faces. And we hear a woman screaming. I couldn't really tell which way it was from, but everyone sort of saying, calm down, you know, like sort of, you're not helping. But obviously, by the sounds of it, she must have been in a carriage full of bodies or something.
She may well have been, because 21 people were killed here outright. Scores more are critical or seriously injured this evening. The King's Cross bomb detonated at 8:56, just 4 minutes after the first explosion over at Liverpool Street.
It was aimed at ordinary working class Londoners, black and white, Muslim and Christian, Hindu and Jew, young and old. Indiscriminate attempt to slaughter, irrespective of any considerations for age, for caste, for religion, whatever.
West London, Edgware Road. Passengers here would not have known about Liverpool Street or King's Cross this morning, or would be hearing it was some kind of technical problem. So they would go on down into the underground. Several hours later, the police outlined just what happened here, the third underground detonation.
At 9:17, there was an explosion on a train coming into Edgware Road underground station, which blew a hole through a wall onto another train in an adjoining platform. In fact, it's believed that 3 trains were involved in that particular incident, and so far there are 5 fatalities.
Precisely 30 minutes later in central London, 9:47, a completely new attack, above ground this time. A London bus blown apart by a 4th bomb. An Al-Qaeda website says Britain is burning in fear. An unknown group calling itself the secret organisation group of Al-Qaeda Jihad in Europe says they did it. Nobody's verified the claim, but whoever they are, they've made their mark. Civilian lives, civilian bodies scarred and ruined in London today, as they are on so many days in Iraq and the Middle East. As it happened, an Iraqi dentist watched what happened at Edgware Road from his surgery window.
Compared what this incident, whatever it is, it's so small compared what's happening day to day in Iraq. Really, since Saddam fall down, over 2 years, there are some reports saying over 100 to 200,000, over the last 2 years, innocent people.
The police say they had no warning. They don't yet know if these were suicide attacks. 4 bombs in 51 bloody minutes of the morning rush hour. Tens of thousands tramping home tonight on foot across the capital. The underground system shut down. Liverpool Street, King's Cross and Edgware Road tube stations are crime scenes. There are no buses, no taxis. But tonight, all mainline overground stations are open and a full bus service is planned for the morning. The day after the London Olympic decision, the day of the G8 summit, the day Al-Qaeda made good on their threat to turn the if into the when. Alex Thompson, Channel 4 News, Central London.
Let's go straight to Westminster, where we can talk to the President of the Association of Chief Police Officers, Chris Fox, who's just come from a COBRA meeting tonight. Chief Constable, COBRA is the main coordinating, the top-level coordinating board committee that deals with events like this. What are your conclusions tonight?
Well, of course, the Metropolitan Police are heavily engaged in investigating 4 very serious crime scenes. The medical services, the police services around the country, the military, everybody's focused on getting back to normal and finding the people who did this. So this is we've been working throughout the day to gain control, re-establish normality and get the evidence that will convict the people who just indiscriminately killed so many people in London today.
Well, I want to come back to some of that in just a moment, but we're hearing from NBC in the United States that British officials they're reporting that British officials have told their US counterparts that timing devices have been found in the wreckage. Do you have anything on that?
No, you need to talk to the Metropolitan Police because, as I say, I have a separate role from the investigation, and the Metropolitan Police are currently now searching the crime scene, so I couldn't verify that, wouldn't verify it, even if I knew.
You talked about the urgent need to get back to normality. The problem, presumably, is that you can't touch much of this scene because they are still being worked on as crime scenes. How long do you estimate that it's going to take to get a real sense of normality back?
Again, as far as the crime scenes are concerned and those particular parts of the subway system, I can't estimate because they're very complicated. And again, I guess the Metropolitan Police will tell you better. But the police service across the country and London will be working to make sure that Londoners and people from every other city, no matter what their race, colour or creed, are feeling confident that we're looking after them, that we're overtly policing, responding to incidents, and in general getting on with the job of making this a safe country.
Well, now that you've been able to sit down tonight with your fellow police, with the military, with the intelligence, are you now clear that there absolutely was no warning, no sense that this was going to be, that anything like this was in the offing?
We're not aware of any warnings, but as Ian Blair and others have said, I mean, London is an international target. We've been working across the whole country, disrupting networks now for a couple of years. Today was the day when one got through from wherever, we don't know where from, and indiscriminately killed people. It didn't matter what your race or your caste or your colour was, you were a victim today.
Chief Constable, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
More details about the bomb on the bus in a moment, but first it is clear that the explosions were a major terrorist attack, a series of coordinated blasts requiring intensive planning. The government's Emergency Cobra Committee, as I said, has been in session. Anti-terrorist officers are leading the investigation. So how prepared were the security services, and do they really have any idea who could have done it? Our Home Affairs correspondent Simon Israel has this.
There was no intelligence that this was about to happen, according to police and MI5. The threat level was, they say, reserved for when there's a specific and imminent target. One agency reported that the Israeli embassy in London claimed to have been warned by police only minutes before the first bomb went off, a claim strongly denied by the Metropolitan Police. At a joint press conference of the emergency services this afternoon, senior officers insisted there was no warning.
The police service received no warning about these attacks, and the police service has received no claims of responsibility from any group in connection with these attacks.
In fact, Channel 4 News has learned that Scotland Yard's Security Review Committee met an hour after the attacks to examine if any warnings or signs had been missed, and concluded that none had. One source said any early credible intelligence would have certainly prompted a publicity campaign to alert the public to be on the lookout for suspicious packages. But there wasn't one. What is your reaction basically to the fact that the nightmare scenario has happened? And what does that say about the counter-terrorism measures that have up to now been deployed?
Well, both the current Commissioner, Sir Ian Blair, and the previous Commissioner have said that London has always been a terrorist target. And we are clearly shocked by what has happened today, but we're not surprised at what's happened.
The plans that we've worked on so hard were required today. And as far as that response is concerned, the response worked extremely well. But it's a very sad day that we've had to actually bring this into play.
The parallels to Madrid are obvious. The preparation, the timing, the targets, the simultaneous nature, and above all, no intelligence and no warning. Unlike Madrid, where the rail system was above ground and the bombs detonated via mobile phones, there is no such signal on the London Underground. Discovering how the bombs were set off is crucial to the police investigation, as is CCTV footage from the cameras based in the station and on the bus, but not installed on the trains. These attacks were many months in planning and in complete secrecy, it seems. But as with 9/11 and Madrid, what led up to today's nightmare may with hindsight look completely different. Ministers are well aware these attacks should not be seen in isolation.
Well, we're working with our colleagues in Europe. I've had wonderful calls, for example, from Michael Chertoff in the United States, but also from my equivalents in France, Germany, Spain. Very, very keen to help. And so they're working in doing intensive police work to identify the people who carried out this terrible crime.
While the authorities would not be drawn on who could be responsible, it's clear no one thinks this is the work of anyone other than extremists in support of the Al-Qaeda philosophy.
The vast and overwhelming majority of Muslims here and abroad are decent and law-abiding people who abhor this act of terrorism every bit as much as we do.
These attacks are clearly a body blow to the counter-terrorism agencies. Several planned attacks have been thwarted in the past, but it's long been feared that it was only a matter of time before a group sneaked through the defences.
It is a failure of an intelligence agency. It's perhaps in the nature of intelligence work that it's never perfect. This does seem to have been a substantial, well-coordinated attack requiring a fairly large number of individuals that has it's succeeded without any kind of indication through the intelligence agencies.
The authorities are likely to face a long haul and may be forced to go back many months to check what, if anything, was missed.
So to the political target of today's atrocity, today should have been the big day for climate change at the G8 summit in Gleneagles, but from the very moment the Prime Minister was told of the attacks, terrorism overshadowed the political tensions. However, meetings did carry on in Mr. Blair's absence, and tonight he returned to the summit as Japan's Prime Minister said he has no plan to withdraw from Iraq. Our international editor Lindsay Hilsum has this from Gleneagles.
At dusk, the Chinook carrying the Prime Minister approached Gleneagles. He was determined to return this evening to send the message that terrorism wouldn't disrupt the G8 summit. And he'll chair tomorrow's meeting on poverty in Africa as planned. 12 hours earlier, as he greeted G8 leaders, he already knew the worst. The leaders understood that he wouldn't be staying to chair the discussions on climate change, and he was clearly impatient to leave. But before he did, the Prime Minister read a statement on behalf of them all.
We are united in our resolve to confront and defeat this terrorism that is not an attack on one nation, but on all nations and on civilized people everywhere.
For a moment, they stood in silence. As the Prime Minister left for London, America was waking up to the news.
The war on terror goes on. I was most impressed by the resolve of all the leaders in the room. Their resolve is as strong as my resolve, and that is we will not yield to these people. We will not yield to the terrorists.
The Foreign Secretary came to chair the G8, and he was the first to indicate the prime suspects in the attacks.
There is an assumption, obviously, that this is an Al-Qaeda-based
organisation has the hallmarks of an al-Qaeda-based organisation, and also its ruthlessness.
The flag over the Gleneagles Hotel flew at half-mast. They might mourn not just those killed, but also the day that Africa was for once to be top of the international agenda. Lindsay Hilsum, Channel 4 News, Gleneagles.
Well, the European Commission President, Jose Manuel Barroso, is in Gleneagles for the G8 summit. He joins us there from there now. Senor Barroso, what happened when Mr. Blair broke it to you that there had been a major terrorist attack in London?
Oh, I was very shocked, of course. It was precisely at the moment I was coming to the meeting, and Prime Minister Blair was receiving all of us. He told me that it might be a terrorist attack. Afterwards, in the meeting, we all expressed our solidarity to Prime Minister Blair, and we supported his decision to go to London to be head of the British cabinet. At the same time, we decided to go on with the meeting. I think it is important because it will be giving a victory to the terrorists if you'll go out of our way of taking important decisions on climate change, of aid for developing countries. So we are going ahead with our work. That's a very important work for the whole world. At the same time, we express our sympathy and indeed our admiration for the resilience, for the determination of the Londoners and all the British people about this tragedy. It was a great reaction of the Londoners, of the British people in face of this tragedy.
Did you talk security? Did you come to any new conclusions?
Yes, of course, we have talked. This was added to the summit. And what I can tell you is that I felt around the table a strong determination, a great sense of solidarity from President Chirac to President Bush. All of us committed, because there may be some differences on matters like developing a world and how can we help them on climate change, but I think there is a real sense of solidarity and a common purpose to fight terrorism. This attack was not only an attack against Britain, it's an attack against all the civilized world.
Isn't there a problem, though, because, I mean, terrorism is a very difficult thing to isolate from causes, and there are still deep divisions about Iraq, and many people suspect that terrorism has intensified, particularly in Madrid and here in London, as a result of the involvement of these